Okay. Good day, everyone. I am Ibo Shalom Chilaru, the founder of Renew Arts Technologies, and it's my pleasure to be hosting this section, which is the COP30 Youth Consultation, and we are highly privileged to have with us Madam Ritu. I met her at COP29 as a Global Center for Climate Mobility youth delegate. And most of the conversations around how young people could participate in, driving climate action, putting up their voices in the negotiations. She gave very practical and actionable insights. And while we were thinking about how young people are going to represent themselves at COP, we just thought of her. I just thought of her immediately, and I felt she would be the right person to speak with us and also give us an opportunity to share our experiences with her, as well as learn more about how the IPCC is addressing climate change. So please join me with your round of emojis, your applause to welcome Madam Ritu for an introduction to COP30 and the IPCC and the work that is being done at the IPCC. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Shalom. It's a real pleasure to join you all today. And I just have a presentation. I did not really go organize this presentation very much as per your agenda, but I thought I'll just do it in a way that makes sense for all of you, but please keep it interactive as I'm going through the presentation. It's a bit of a long presentation, but as I'm going through it, raise your hand, interject, and then keep asking questions. But the whole point is not for me to do a monologue, but rather to keep it very interactive for you to understand what we are doing and how you could engage with all that work. In terms of IPCC, although I've been selected as a lead author, but that's also quite a journey because I'm a bit of an outlier within the IPCC group of authors. I'm very much different from them. I don't carry a very fancy degree from a big shot university. It's not a Cambridge University or Oxford University degree that I carry. And that's why probably my profile might resonate with a lot of you. In the end, I think one of my colleagues would join. We have created a platform exactly to make sure the voices of all of you gets represented in global platform more. And when Krishna comes and talks about it more, I will make sure that you understand and you can understand how you could engage with that platform. So if you're okay, I have a set of slides with me. And those slides are very much, I'll start off those slides with first talking about what are the key issues that are there in terms of discussions at COP. And then I will go into what are the issues that are really there? Because see, within COP or the international discourse, there are a set of issues in which seasoned negotiators engage. There are lawyers out there who probably nitpick each and every word of that negotiation text. But especially people like me, we engage in a different way. Our engagement with this whole discussion at COP is more in terms of how do you really bring the voices, the evidence from the global south to influence what's happening in this international platform. Why that is needed? Because see, and I may be wrong, a lot of people who sit in those negotiations, they've not spent a day in actual ground level. They don't really understand what are the issues of women, children, disabled, how do they get impacted, and what kind of solutions they need. What do you really want international actors to do for them? And that's the kind of support that we want their voices to get represented first, and the solutions that are emerging at international platform to be designed in a way that it reaches them. So I'll take you through a series of slides as to what we found and what we are trying to do about it and how you could all engage with that. So I'll just try to share my slide and see whether it works. I think it does work. Shalom, can you just confirm whether you're seeing? I think it's visible.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So I'm going to put, so a very quick introduction about myself. I am Ritu Bharatwaj, and I'm a director of climate resilience, finance, and loss and damage. It's a really long title because there are three issues there. So there is climate resilience, there is climate finance, and there is loss and damage. And if any of you, and Shalom, I'll not have a visibility of the chat, but if any one of you has any question or raises any hand, I'll stop in between in my presentation and I will try to address that. So I thought I'll start with what COP is. Is that okay, Shalom? Shall I start with that? Okay.
Yes, that's okay.
Okay, so I'm not going to really do a kindergarten thing. I think most of you know what COP is. COP is Conference of Parties, where developed and developing countries come together. And because global warming or climate change is a global public good. So it's something that one country alone cannot find solution to, because emission in one country pollutes the global, and and therefore, unless all the countries come together, we can't find solution. But there is also issue of climate justice, because if you look at small island states, they have contributed 1%, only 1% to the global emission. And who are the first getting impacted by climate change are those countries because of the sea level rise. And then comes least developed countries, because least developed countries again have contributed very minimally, and they are the ones facing increased flooding, increased typhoons, increased droughts, water scarcity, salinity, and you name it. All of those are happening right now with them. But the problem is, the developed countries are the ones which have emitted, and because they have developed by emitting, they have the money as well. So what they have done, disasters occur in their country as well. No, the climate impact occurs in their country as well. But those impacts do not turn into disasters. The climate impact turns into disasters only when the people are impacted by it. So do you think rainfall deviation is not there? Like, when I say rainfall deviation from normal, it's like when people have water scarcity, there they have big water reservoirs, and those water reservoirs come to the rescue of people even if there's less rainfall. If the flood or the water falls above average, then they have huge flood embankment to protect themselves. Whereas when you come to least developed countries or developing countries, they have not spent so much in protecting themselves from these floods, from droughts, and all of the other climatic impact. And therefore, when these things become more intense and more frequent, they get impacted very strongly. And many of these climatic impact turns into disaster. So, what are we really discussing in COP? In COP, we talk about climate finance. Why? On the basis of climate justice. And that climate justice is that a lot of developed countries are the ones responsible for global emission and global warming, but the brunt of that is being felt by the developing country, least developed countries, and small island states. So we are saying that the developed countries should pay up for the climate damage they have caused. They should support the developing countries and the LDC and SITs to protect themselves. And right now, for a very long time in COP, the discussion, you know, centered around providing 100 billion US dollars. But that 100 billion never came. Now, even if it came, it was only towards very late that that 100 billion target was even met. And much of that money went into mitigation rather than adaptation. Now, please tell me if you don't understand the meaning of mitigation adaptation. I want to keep it simple. I want what I'm saying to be accessible to everyone. So please raise hand and ask question. So in the last COP, which was held in Baku, that 100 billion pledged was increased to 300 billion, saying that 100 billion each for adaptation, 100 billion for mitigation, and 100 billion for loss and damage. But now in Belém COP that is going to happen in Brazil, we are talking about 1.3 trillion, because that's the scale of damage cost and that's the kind of funding that developing countries need. So right now what we have on the table, not in terms of money, but in terms of agreeing to a target, we have around 300 billion, but the shortfall is about 1 trillion. So, and other discussion that we have is around tripling the adaptation finance. And then also, one thing which a lot of countries are now demanding is debt sustainability, and explain why debt comes into this whole discussion later on, but I'll just keep it there. And the second big issue at COP is going to be ambition. So we know, does everyone know what NDC is? NDC is nationally determined contribution. So NDC basically is, in simple terms, a climate action plan. So every country, whether it's a developed country or a developing country, LDC sits any country, has to develop a nationally determined contribution plan or national climate action plan that gets submitted to UNFCCC. And basically, what developed countries have to highlight as to how they are tackling climate change in their own country, but also as to what amount of money are they really putting forward. And developing country, least developed countries have to put in their climate action plan or NDC, explaining how are they currently facing climate impact and how are they going to deal with that. Now, basically, what we want in the NDC to emerge is, everyone said the Paris Climate Agreement was to limit global warming to 1.5 degree. So, if you combine all of these climate action plans from all the countries globally, we should be able to achieve that reduction of 1.5 degrees. But right now, that is not clear. So again, and why it is not clear? Because a lot of countries have not submitted the NDC, or they have not updated the NDC and so on. And therefore, that climate ambition to keep the global warming to 1.5 degree is, it's not very clear as to how we're going to meet that. And NDC is the only means by which you can understand that, what action climate countries are taking. The third is around adaptation and loss and damage. Again, that is something, adaptation, you all know, loss and damage is something that goes beyond limits of adaptation. For example, if there's a sea level rise, there's nothing you can do about it. You cannot adapt. If there's flood, you can raise flood embankment. If there's drought, you can do drought proofing, like soil conservation, moisture conservation. So you can somehow deal with floods and droughts. So they are adaptable. But when floods and drought go beyond the limits of adaptation, or for example, if there is sea level rise, you have to move away. You can't adapt to it. And that, in many sense, are called loss and damages. Things that are permanently lost or things that are permanently damaged. And the next is, year before last, the fossil fuel phase out was agreed. So that's another issue which is on the table. Just transition is another thing, because and this becomes important for LDC, SAIDs, a lot of developing country, because our energy is mostly from coal-based thermal power plants. That is cheaper. In order for these countries to move from coal-based to renewable, one, they need a lot of investment. But two, a lot of people are going to lose their job. People who are working in mines, people who are working in thermal power plants, they lose their job. So how do you really, even as you transition from coal-based thermal power plants or fossil fuel-based energy generation to renewable energy, what do you do in terms of protecting the livelihoods of the people who would get impacted? And that's called just transition. So that's another issue which is on the table as to what support is developed country going to provide to the developing country world to transition, but in a just fashion. And then there is inclusion and equity, and you will see I've really bolded that point there, which is about amplifying the voices, the youth voices and local voices in the COP. And then also to address the logistical barrier for activists, people like you, Shalom. You joined previous COP because the Global Mobility Pavilion, they made sure that your tickets were sponsored by your hotel was sponsored. Otherwise, even normal local activists, even though they're doing great job at the national level, at the local level, they can't go and attend COP because COP is a really expensive, fanfare, I would say. Why? Because it's a lot of song and dance. You have gone and seen, there's so many pavilion, there's so many events. It's almost like an exhibition out there. But it matters. To go and speak there, it matters because that's how people come to know what you're feeling, what you're facing, what kind of solutions you need. How do you need the finance to be delivered? But that logistical barrier of participating in COP has to be lowered down. There should be ways in which the youth, the local indigenous people, or local organization can go and join. Because if you go and see right now, one booking a room in Belém is like $500, $700, $800 a night. And plus, you then have to include the flight fare and everything. So that's a barrier that is there that needs to be removed. So is that okay? And I'll now move on to the next couple of slides I have. I'll move very quickly through them. But if there is any issue that anyone wants to raise or try to understand, I will be happy to stop and explain that. So basically, if you can understand this graph here, this pink and the blue line that you see, these are the, the disaster intensity. Now, the yellow line is those of developed and developing country. But you can see in small island states and least developed country, it has really gone up in the recent, from 1990 onwards. Whereas in the case of developing country, or developed country is kind of flat, which means the climate impact intensity as well as frequency is increasing. Now, the point is there are solutions available, but there is no funding available to make those solutions work because there's a huge loss and damage fund gap. There's a huge adaptation fund gap. Then there is also a protection gap. What do you mean by protection? Because in a developed world, in most of right now I'm based in UK, if there's a flood or a hurricane or a drought, if your house gets damaged, if your crop gets damaged, most of the things are insured. So you get compensated through insurance mechanism in some way or the other. You're not left to fend for yourself. Whereas if you look at the developing world, global south, only 2% of the infrastructure or any of these other assets are insured, which means when any type of climatic disaster hits them, they have to cover the cost themselves. So and why they're not able to insure themselves? Because insurance is a costly business. It's not something that anyone can insure. There's a premium that you have to pay almost on a yearly basis, and these premiums are rising because climate crisis is also increasing. And then there's also well-being and security gap because the whole world got together in July to discuss about the finance for development, the SDG finance. And the gap of funding that is there is around 4 trillion. So in order for us to meet our SDG, Sustainable Development Goal, we need 4 trillion US dollars. And that is not there. And then whatever finance which is there, for example, there's Green Climate Fund, there is Adaptation Fund, there's Loss and Damage Fund now, where getting finance from these funds is not easy. Because GCF itself, the Green Climate Fund, you can't access the fund unless you are accredited. And then once you get accredited, you then have to develop a proposal. It goes through a very tough negotiation, a tough competition process, and only then you get a funding. Now, our own assessment shows that a least developed country takes a minimum of 7.5 years to get itself accredited, develop a proposal, and get any kind of fund flowing into their country. So that's the scale of delay that they face. Then again, humanitarian aid, it does flow in, like when a country is hit by a disaster or typhoon or hurricane, anything. International aid does come in, one, but it does not come to the scale at which the damage is caused. And two, it's very reactive. It is event driven. You don't have any surety that you will get that money in some form. And then, you look at Adaptation Fund, Green Climate Fund, loss and damage fund, they're very siloed. They look at issues in an individual silos, like, we'll only finance adaptation, we'll only finance mitigation, or we'll only finance loss and damage. But you go to the community level, those communities, they don't know that, even they don't even know the difference between adaptation, mitigation, loss and damage. For them, it's a climatic impact. So they need support around that. Like, they need support in a comprehensive manner. And that comprehensive support is not available. Now, up till now, is there any issue, any questions from any one of you?
We had a question earlier about youth engagement. I guess you're going to also talk about it towards the end of your presentation.
Absolutely. So,
Yes.
and that's why I see Krishna, my colleague, is there,
Yes.
and we'll explain how the youth can really participate, can really contribute to that. But Shalom, tell me if any of this is a repetition, you already know that, and if you want me to skip that, let me know.
No, I believe that this is fundamental to draw attention on the critical needs for both the global south, and also to show us the status of what things are. There are some statistics that you have mentioned, which for myself, I'm not aware of, especially related to, the NDCs, how many countries have not submitted yet, and the amount of funding to meet the SDGs up to $4 trillion gap. I'm hearing some of the statistics for the first time. For myself, I feel I'm taking notes of them, and I feel they are new knowledge for me.
Okay, good. So I'm going to skip some of these slides very quickly. So you
Okay.
will see in COP, there's a lot of discussion about debt. And the reason for that debt is a lot of countries are now facing higher debt. And that, see, debt per se, a lot of countries, even US takes debt. They take sovereign, they're called sovereign debt. But that sovereign debt is taken to build bridges, to build buildings, to build dam. So countries take loan from World Bank, from other bilateral aid agencies and so on, not aid agency, other agencies, to grow, to develop their economy. Now, up to that point is fine, because when countries take loan, they build infrastructure, they grow their economy, and when they get revenues out of that, then countries repay that loan. But right now, what is happening, that countries are taking loan purely to recover from disasters. So, for example, in Dominica, in one hurricane, 120% of their GDP got wiped out. Which means when you say 120% of GDP gets wiped out, that all their bridges, all their roads, all the buildings, everything was washed away. So the country is not taking loan to grow, it is purely taking loan just to rebuild itself after a disaster. A disaster that was not caused by them, the disaster which is caused because of global warming. And what is happening right now, that countries are taking loan. They are barely able to repay previous loan, then they have to take another loan because they're hit by another disaster, then another disaster, then another. So they're perpetually in the cycle of taking one loan after another, purely to recover from disasters. And here, because I'm see a lot of people are from Africa continent, so I picked up some examples only from African countries. So Somalia is one of those really indebted countries. It also faced fragility and conflict. And you will see the red lines that you see here. It shows the debt level of the country from 1974 till 2020. Now, the red dotted line are the years when the country were hit by disaster intensity more than one. So you will see every time they're hit by disaster, their debt levels go up. And when they are not hit by disaster, some of the years, it comes down, but then again it goes up. Okay. So not having disasters give them a breathing space, but the moment it hits them again their debt levels go up. Then, and we also did a correlation between the hazard and exposure index and the default to debt ratio. Why? And if you don't understand any term, let me know. Now, what is default on debt? Like I have taken loan from you, Shalom, and I am not able to repay it. That is default. I've defaulted on repayment of debt. So we looked at the data of the fragile and conflict affected countries. Like, for example, in your in African context, Somalia is an FCAS, Mali is FCAS, Ethiopia is FCAS. FCAS is fragile and conflict affected. Then there are other least developed countries, and then they have developed and developing countries. What we saw that higher the hazard, so this axis that you see here, it shows higher hazard exposure, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. And here is default to debt ratio. So as the exposure increases, countries' chances or the ability to repay debt keeps going down, 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 which is again, this shows that higher the debt, higher the exposure to climate hazards, the more is their debt default. And then here we saw like how much is the debt to default ratio of different countries. This is fine. I don't think you need to. But what happens? Why should you be worried? Like, one is countries which are exposed to debt, which means that they, when crisis hits community, they are not able to support the community because they are repaying debt. They are not able to get more debt from the market. And therefore, countries become more, like community becomes more vulnerable to being, how do I say, like being vulnerable to being like, although climate does not cause conflict per se, but when people are in conflict and they don't get support during climate crisis or during flood or drought, then they become more exposed to being radicalized by those ideologies that further brew conflict. So that is something that we need to keep in mind. So we also saw that the countries which were had higher debt default, had more exposed to debt default, there the social assistance went down. The social protection like health benefit, education benefit, or livelihood support, that support those countries were able to provide less and less and less to their communities. And you will see that that spending goes down more in case of least developed countries, in case of fragile and conflict affected states, and so on. I'll let, so this is a map here. You will see we ourselves constructed the food security index of the countries on 4 pillars: availability, accessibility, utilization, and stability. So these are 4 pillars on the basis of which food security is assessed. Just look at this area. Now, this is an area which is most, so the darker orange or this, these are the countries which are most exposed. Now, then what we did, we overlaid the food security index that we got here with the climate risk index. And you will see that higher the climate risk, more is the food security issues, which means that climate risk is directly contributing to increasing the food security issues in these countries. Now, there's another, so like these are hidden issues, hidden handbrake that we call it, hidden issues that never gets talked about. Nobody ever says, oh, food security is happening because of climate risk. Debt is happening because of climate risk. But all of these countries are being pulled down in the development ladder purely because of climate crisis. Again, we tried to correlate, currency. Huh? All of you must be knowing that your currency compared to US dollar. That's currency exchange. So I don't know. I'm from India, so I have rupee. So rupee, like $1 is equal to 70 rupees. But if I have to pay for $1, 80 rupees, which means my Indian rupee has devalued in value. Now, what we tried to see was to what extent was climate crisis contributing to currency value devaluation. And what we saw, like this is how the currency, you see the graph go up, but that's basically the exchange rate of the currencies in least developed country and small island states. On an average, for every 5% decrease in the value of currency leads leads to 5 billion loss, 5 million US dollar loss per country for 5%. But in least developed country, that currency devaluation has happened to an extent of 265%. So you can imagine 5% leads to 5 million loss, and 265 the level of losses that these countries have suffered. So, on an average, the annual exchange loss per country, this is small island states and LDC. So, for an LDC, you can see least developed country, on an average, 1 year per year, they lose close to 11 billion US dollar only on exchange related loss. And why should you bother? Is because the loan that a country has taken, they take from the international market, and that loan is provided in US dollar. But when they have to repay it, they have to convert their local currency into US dollar and then repay it. Or the import that you do in terms of fuel, in terms of food, or anything, that import also happens in US dollar or other international currency. And when you have to convert your local currency to do that, then the countries end up losing a lot of money. And this is the kind of loss that one small island state or one LDC faces. Now, I am pretty sure in many of your countries, $11 billion is not even invested in social. Imagine if this amount of money was invested in social protection, in food, in health, in education, it would have led to something. In terms of GDP losses, this is for small island states. On an average, they lose overall 12% of their GDP purely because of currency exchange. And that climate crisis has a huge role to play in terms of devaluing that currency. Credit rating, again, I think this might become too technical, Shalom, so I'm just going to skip very quickly to I'll skip the currency exchange, and now I'll go to what happens at the local level. So what happens at the local level is we looked at research in all of these geographies. So when community is not provided support during time of climate crisis, they, in almost all of these geographies, one thing we found common, and that was in forced displacement and distress migration. Now, the whole of global north, you talk about America, you talk about England, you talk about all the countries are saying, oh, all these illegal immigrants are coming to our country. All they talk about is immigration. But they are the ones who have contributed to that immigration, because in all of these geographies where we did research, one thing was common, and that was forced displacement and distress migration. So what do? When sea level rise is inundating, the land is going underwater, they are facing more and more floods. So they keep moving, and then ultimately they reach a stage that they say, we can't face this anymore. And then they try to move to a much further locality. And of course, I'm saying not all of them, most of them are internal migrants or internally displaced. But in our research in Bangladesh showed many of them go to India, but from there, many of them are moving to Middle East, and many of them from Africa, like our research from Ghana said, they moved to Egypt. From there, they're moving further into Europe and so on. So, like, there are a lot of migratory path which is going there, and a lot of that is contributed because of climate change. Very quickly, a data from Mali here. We did research around Mali that this shows how the Mali loss and damage, like Mali frequency of droughts and floods have increased, but also the percentage of households which have moved in the last 5 years. You can see more than 10 years ago, only 4% of the people migrated. But in last 5 years, 68% people are migrating. And then within that, some people are moving within their circles, within the region, but the 39, almost 40% of the people are now moving to other countries. What do? They don't have an option. And, we looked into the reasons for distress migration, and most prominent reason was financial and food crisis caused because of drought. Now, this is some of the figures. I'm not going to take you through all of that, but some of these migration and displacement happens because people suffer flood loss, people suffer crop loss because of drought, People face flood and drought related livestock loss, employment loss, then there is reduction in land holding, their livestock dies, like cattle, goat. You can see what it was earlier and what it became later on. There's biodiversity loss, there is land degradation, there is loss of cultural values because they're moving, all their culture, their traditional worship sites are lost. And more than that, they face mental health and physical health issues as well. Now, I just wanted to come to the slide here. I'll just spend 1 minute. So what we looked at the data, and this all of this data was collected from the field. We had a very good local partner there, the Shakt. And we looked at households which were not migrating, the households which were migrating, and the households which were permanently displaced. And we calculated what their income was, XOF, their income on the top, and what their loss and damage they were suffering. And in this, we calculated like the entire, like a lot of them sold their land, a lot of them sold their livestock or lost their livestock, they died because of drought and so on. You will see non-migrant were losing 75%, and that's why they were still there. Migrants were losing 90%, but the displaced family lost close to 184%. So there's no way they can ever return back to their original form. Again, in Bangladesh, I wanted to show this data very quickly because in Bangladesh also similar situation occurred. They're losing their houses, animal, crop, and so on. And then we looked at the number of households which are actually migrating. So these are internal migration, people migrating within Bangladesh, within the country, 84%. In the last 10 years, which was 2% earlier, it has gone up to 84%. And people undertaking international migration was 88% compared to what 4% 3 decades ago. But then what is happening to them at international destination? For example, the extent of modern slavery, trafficking, forced labor, exploitative labor that these people were suffering was enormous, both internal migrants, but the worst was those going international migration. So from Bangladesh, a lot of people go to Middle East, Saudi, Qatar, and all of these places. 66% of the migrants who went abroad, because, and a big reason for that was climate crisis back home. They lost their crop, home, livestock, everything. And 66% was suffering at least 6 forms of modern slavery. Now, again, what can you do? Okay, so I'm now coming to what can people like youth do, indigenous people do. I saw somebody say they were from media, they were local journalists, they are local grassroots organization. What can you do? Like I feel individually, as I say, I'm just like you. I come from a very underprivileged and underdeveloped part of the world. I don't have a fancy degree, but I have managed to get myself become a lead author at IPCC. And this is something that all of you should be aspiring. And I will ask my colleague also to explain what we are doing. The problem is people who sit, as I said, people who sit in these international negotiations, even people who sit on behalf of developing country in these international negotiations, they are not from many of times from global south. You will see all the advisors are from developed country. And that is happening because there's not enough evidence. Like all those research that I showed to you from Mali, so from Somalia, many of those type of research have come from the first time. And I want all of you to do this research in your own domain. So we need more evidence coming from global south. We need evidence more on the multidimensionality. So we want you to explore how climate is impacting health, climate is impacting education of children, climate is impacting livestock, climate is like because till now climate research has happened in a very linear way. But what is happening to pregnant women? What is happening to disabled people? People with disability, what is happening? So you need to really understand, like as a youth, what is happening to you? How are you really feeling it? So we need more multidimensionality in research. We also need, and but what happens is coordination among different type of research from different field never happens. So, Shalom, people like you can play that coordinating role. So, you play that role where you bring together, you like in your own university, if there's somebody studying physics or somebody studying health or educations, bring them together. Say that let's work together, let's come together and try to develop methodology and approach that helps us do that multidimensional aspect. Again, you have done a very smart thing, and all of you should be happy that you have people like Shalom and amidst you. But I want all of you to play that leadership role, where you try to connect experts, try to connect capacity with each other, and everything does not need money. You don't know, I have within my network close to 70 mentors, 70 people who are experts in climate change. They would love to come and support all of you. Yes, Shalom, come in.
Yes, this is because the same thing you just mentioned, someone asked about it. I think Mrs. Anidi asked who will sponsor the research, and I would like you to throw more explanation on how we can do research without, using a lot of funding for this kind of work. Yes.
See, what I will do is I'll ask Krishna to explain more. So what we do, we try to fundraise from other bigger organization. And in fact, we've supported 25 local researchers and grassroots organization. Like we supported 26, and in current batch we are supporting 26 more. Now we still have to do more fundraising because of Trump and other, funding challenges. Otherwise, we would have launched another funding cycle. So from our own side, we try to support around 25, 30 researchers, local organization, uh, only global south, to do research, and we provide all support. So when we say we don't have enough money, though, but we still try to provide them support. How do they develop methodology? How they like covering their transport cost, going and collecting data, analyzing it. We provide all the support in getting it published in a peer-reviewed journal so that their, publication it's not just that they do research, but it also gets published. So that is one side. And we also pay mentors who then support. So we attach, many of you might have done PhD. So in PhD, you have a guide attached to you. In the same way, we attach one or two mentors with each scholar or each organization who does research. And then they continue to provide hand-holding support over a period of 1 year to them. Now, that is one part of research, but there's another type of support that we do. Because, in one cycle, we can only support around 25, 30. What we do is we provide information about all the other places from where you can get access to such scholarship, believe me, there are a lot of organizations which are supporting research, huh? So we consolidate that information and we provide more of that information. We also have master mentors in my we have created an initiative called All Act, and within that All Act, we have a lot of mentors. So if you submit your request, we will connect you to a mentor. And if there's more requests, we will organize like a small workshop, a mini workshop, and so on for you. And we also have created a platform where your blogs, your podcast, your podcast, or your research papers can be published. We will take it through an editorial process, we'll get it peer reviewed, and then we will publish it. So there are many ways in which it can be done. And that's a very powerful thing, because the only way you can create your voice or you can make your voice be heard is to come out with more of this research, more of this evidence. What we will do, and I'm giving this open offer to all of you, and Krishna will explain more as to how you can submit your research for publication to us. If we have like 10, 15 good research blogs come out from all of you, we will organize a big webinar for you so you can present it, and we will make sure that it gets publicized so that big people and we will also try to bring in the working group chairs from IPCC. We'll try to bring the IPCC chair itself to come and sit through the presentation of all those research, because IPCC this time has said that they are committed to bringing more of local voices, local research into IPCC next review cycle. But how do you reach that? Just having webinars will not help. So you need to really publish, and you need to publish it. The other thing that they're saying that it need not be published in an international peer-reviewed journal, as long as there is an evidence that sound methodology has been followed, it has been done properly, research ethics have been followed, and it's properly published. They'll accept those evidence, and that's exactly what we are trying to do. It is free of cost. We will provide you all the support that is needed. But what we have done to support this, and I'll not take you through too much of all of that. So these are two publications you will see. This Living in Shadow of Loss and Damage, Uncovering Non-Economic Loss and Damage. This is something where we published 14 case studies of local authors. We published the papers in their name, but we provided all the hand-holding, mentoring support and everything. And this is something we published 2 years back, again had 12 case studies. So in all, 26 case studies are there. I will not take you through too much of this because I know you would be more interested as to how you can support, huh? So what I'll do is I'll stop sharing, and Krishna, do you have that presentation where you will explain the loss and damage observatory?
Yes, Ritu. Yeah, I will present it.
Why don't you share that and see, the point is, as you start sharing, Krishna, I'll give a little bit of background about it. Why don't you share your slide? So basically what we have done, all of you, is we have created a toolkit called CSIC, Comprehensive Climate Impact Quantification Toolkit. Krishna, I don't know whether you have a link to that in your presentation, but I will paste a link to that in the chat. So basically, it gives step by step explanation of how you can do research. I like, really, how do you do sampling? How do you develop a questionnaire? How you can analyze, carry out economic assessment, and so on. So Krishna, you start with that, and I will paste link to all those publications in the chat that all of you can access.
Thanks, Ritu. Hi, hello everyone. I'm Krishna Murthy. I'm working with Ritu in ALACT. It is part of IIED. So I am managing this loss and damage research observatory. I'm going to share more about that. What Ritu has set and a beautiful the background, the basics of these climate change issues and the emerging the issues. So here I will just take you through this platform. Actually, some of your questions I was just looking at your the chat box. So you are raised about funding resource. Who will fund my research? Then how to publish my research work. I have done research PhD. I'm doing the PhD. I have to publish my work. Then whether anyone can join as a researcher or only with an institutional background, one can join. There are questions raised in this chat box. So this is the kind of the platform that answers all those. So this is observatory where we invite the young researchers to come and interact with the senior researchers or mentors. That what Ritu was telling, these mentors. So this is our platform where we invite young researchers, then the mentors. We create a facility where they interact with each other. They share their expertise to the young researchers. Again, basically conducting research and communicating the research to different platforms. The need, again, Ritu was already sharing. So there is a paucity of research or the inadequate participation of the global south in the whole climate research or climate-induced loss and damage-based research. So that ultimately leads to the inadequate resources, again, the research methodologies available for conducting such researches. So this observatory is meant for catering to that particular need. So where we create a kind of facility where we invite the researchers to come and interact with our mentors. So again, as she was explaining, so there is a kind of a need for collective knowledge generation. Again, that is supported by the evidence at the grassroots through the grounded researchers at the grassroots. So again, there is a need for a kind of a knowledge hub where all resources at one place we can get access to related to the climate change and the loss and damage related research outputs. Again, creating a kind of a digital museum where are the archive. So where the communities at the grassroots or at the ground, they can share some of the tangible, intangible, the resources that are at the risk of this climate change. Say, for example, losing physical structures or losing language or losing skills because of this climate change. So these are the kind of activities that we are promoting through this loss and damage research observatory. So these are the guiding principles. So where we want to make this research as more of inclusive and participatory, where the communities have more say over the research as well as the research outcomes, so that they can participate, the set agenda for the research, then contribute to that particular research, or even use the research for affecting change locally as well as at the national, international platforms. So we need to create a kind of contextually relevant tools and methods, so which can be easily adaptable to the country context, because the context are highly varying. Then there is a need for adaptable tools and methods so that researchers can easily get into the climate research at the ground. So again, this is the platform we build with our stakeholders. It is not a platform we have developed fully. It is getting developed with the participation of the researchers, mentors, and research organizations and grassroots organizations who are working on loss and damage related work. So we are continuing to work with them. So this is a kind of a platform where we bring mentors, as I was telling. If you visit our website, this portal, you can see the mentors. So if you, I will just click that. So we have enrolled mentors. We have invited these mentors from all over the world. We have now 28 and mentors scrutinized through a stringent process of selection through kind of very deeper assessment. So these are the mentors. They are available for supporting this young researchers, as Ritu was telling. So they will help the researchers who wants to take up research on different fields related to loss and damage or other aspects of climate change.
Krishna, we are only seeing, we
Yeah.
are not seeing, we are only seeing the slide. We are not seeing if you have taken us to the website.
Okay.
You can show it later on, like after you have finished the slides, you can show it later
Yes,
on.
okay.
Just one very quickly, I wanted to say one quick thing, which is, many of you know that IPCC's chair office is hosted by IIED, and when we discussed with him, he with the chair, they said that it need not be that the papers have to be published in international peer review journal as long as they're published, but they have to follow certain, and that's why this whole mentor mentee, this whole toolkit that we have developed, CSIC toolkit, I've pasted the link to it in the chat. I don't know whether it's there, whether it got shared with everyone. Try to open this, grab to find it, and then Krishna will explain to you where you can find all of these researchers. If there are more requests, then we can also organize separate training program for them. But Krishna, go ahead.
Yeah. So as a young researchers, you can explore joining as a mentees. As a researchers, you can create your profile in the researchers profile page. So where you can put your profile online, you can put your needs, the background or your research interest and areas, so that the mentors can learn your need, then they can tailor the mentorship according to your need. So there is a kind of the facility where you can join as a researcher and create your profile. So again, as Ritu was telling, there are the tools for research. If you look at the loss and damage research, so we have developed the CSIC, the Comprehensive Climate Impact Quantification Tool. So that is a kind of the elaborate tool where you can find the combination of methodologies that you can use to assess the loss and damage, keeping communities at the center, where you can have community-based processes where communities can participate at every stage of the loss and damage research, starting from the problem identification to the solution pathways. So the whole range of the steps explained in the CSIC toolkit in a very simple way that you can use it. So again, these researches are for creating the effect on the policies at the national as well as the international level through various platforms. So another aspect that you can participate and contribute is this online museum that we are promoting in this observatory. So this museum is nothing but a platform or a facility where we have created a kind of facility where the grassroots communities, the practitioners, the researchers, they can post the critical the resources, like both the tangible and intangible resources. They're at the risk of facing extinction due to this loss and damage induced by the climate change. So we work with the online museums, the physical museums, to safeguard or preserve those the artifacts, the resources, so that will be made available for the future researchers and other advocacies. So this is a kind of a museum where you can post, you can contribute the aspects that you are seeing as at the risk of extinction. So there you can find this resource in our website. So where you can create your profile, you can create your account, you can submit your contribution in terms of the museum, the exhibits. Also, you can learn the exhibits, learn the resources, both tangible and intangible, that are facing the extinctions, like the physical resources, like the geological features, biodiversity, or the places of worship that we are seeing in our research, the research. So these are the resources. They are often neglected in preservation by the predominant effort. So again, the intangible resources like oral traditions, knowledge, resources, skills, even culinary heritage. For example, because of the climate change, the millets are the lesser known crops, so they are disappearing from the fields. So that has an impact on the people's culinary habit. So their eating habit is changed. So these are all the nuances that is often missed out in the dominant paradigm of research. But we want to give such a space for those even very smaller and lesser known or lesser attended aspects of the loss and damage. So these are all the tangible, intangible heritages, so that you can record and contribute. Then you can also learn different these exhibits, region-wise, country-wise, that are facing the threat of extinction. So this is how an exhibit will look like when you present the exhibit or the resource that is facing a threat. So you can document and share it. so that will be useful for the researchers as well as for various other policy related efforts. So as a whole, this platform is created for the young researchers like you. You can, first of all, you can come and join this platform as a researcher, or you can contribute your resources in terms of, I will just get into that. You can enroll yourself as a researcher in the observatory. Then you can write and share your research experience. That is what one of the participants was asking. I'm doing research, my works are not published. Then whether you can publish it. Yes, this observatory will help publish your research work. If you already published, you can showcase your publication here so that will reach wider audience. Similarly, you can produce or co-produce the podcast or podcast. You can contribute your research experience for others to learn. So in this platform where you can share and produce, there are the guidelines given in each of this item where you can learn the requirements as well as the ways how you can contribute. I will just share that so that you can understand that. I will just share the website. Yeah. So is my screen visible with the website?
Yes, yes, it is visible. Krishna, I was just thinking, take them to the home screen so they know how the screen would look like as you open the website.
Yeah. So this is our observatory. It's a portal. So here we have created a kind of the links for various resources. So this is the way you can participate. You can submit your blog post. If you have done research, you have an interesting story to tell. If you have done a kind of interesting work, they can share it to others through our research blog. So where you can
Krishna,
submit. Yeah.
can you go further down to show that resource map, the map further down?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like here, we have published all the papers, and yeah, just show them one or two papers that were published for local researchers. Like if you go in Africa itself, they'll understand some of them.
Yeah, here, this is how the research works are getting indexed in our website. So the publications are indexed so that you can get access to those publications. The similar submissions you can make if you have an interesting research work to share, we are ready to share. For example, this is a kind of the research we have done on non-economic loss and damage.
Show a case study of one of the research from Africa, Krishna, if possible.
Yes.
Not
So
our
I will
research, but of that of others.
Yeah, I will go to this Botswana. There is a case study on this Okavango Delta. That is a very interesting story. Again, there is a blog post about this. After some 4 or 5 years after that, then what happened in that particular delta. So you can look at this. So this is the case study on this. This is the last batch. What Ritu was telling. 26 researchers they have taken these case studies. So we have supported and guide them to take this research. This is the research output. So you can download this. That will take to IIED's website where the publication is primarily indexed. So you can download and read. So similarly, there are 14 such case studies that has been indexed and presented. I will come back.
I think the website is on a different tab.
Yeah, I'm just search.
So Krishna, it's on the tab on the top.
Yeah,
If you
yes.
click on any of the tab. I'm just thinking, Krishna, it might
Sorry for
help
the
to.
technical glitch. Yeah.
You can just
There is
show how someone can create a profile, but also how can they submit a publication.
Yes.
So once you submit as Krishna is addressing that, I'll just, like some of you raised that thing now. If you have a paper, you can just share that paper. Like, if you can click on one of those, how to submit your paper, you can go upload it. And
I will take one by one.
okay, take care.
Yeah, I will just, you can join this observatory by creating your account. Primarily, you can join the observatory as either you can join as a researcher or a mentor. If you have a mentoring experience or the considerable research experience, you can join as a mentor. Also, as an institution, you can join. So we are giving option for that as well. So there are three ways you can join: as a researcher, or as a mentor, or as a research or an action-based organization. So you can create your account. So once you create your account, then you will be given an exclusive account and user ID and password. You can start creating your profile. Then you can start submitting your publication. You can start publishing your online museum entry. So you can contribute in whatever the ways that that you can contribute. So similarly, so as a researcher, so you can submit your blog. So there is a blog page where you can, there is a guideline given. So you can submit it, that will undergo the editorial process. So again, once that passes through that, then we will publish your blog post. So you can also register for training. If there are considerable number of participants, so to understand how to write and publish blogs, you can also enroll yourself. So you can organize programs if there is a critical the size of participants. Similarly, you can share your blog post. So as an author, you can fill up this form and submit your story. Then we will review, and after this editorial process, then we will publish it. So this is the blog you can contribute. So again, as I was telling, you can contribute as a for the podcast and podcast. You can produce and contribute. We can jointly produce. That option is also there. So again, we are conducting training for producing this podcast and podcast. You can learn and participate. So again, for publications, so there are guidelines given, the what type of publications we accept. Then the guidelines for submitting the manuscripts, if that is freshly going to be published, or if that is already published somewhere, then if you want to index that here, then we will take that as well. There are guidelines given. You can share your publication. If you fill up this form and share your publication, then we will take and review and publish it on our website. So this is how you can share your publication. So again, as I was telling, this online museum. So as an enthusiast of this loss and damage or climate issues, you can contribute, or if you are a researcher, you can contribute with your the evidence-based documentation that you have done as part of your research. So this is an open platform. You can share your contribution. So this is the way you can connect with our community of practice. So you can create your account. So you can log in and continue to learn and contribute. Also, you can meet researchers and organizations. The mentors will identify you. If your interest suits their interest, they will connect with you. We will also facilitate such connections through periodic programs. Maybe we are organizing webinars, we are organizing virtual training programs on the C6, the toolkit that I was telling, so that you can learn and understand the tool. Similarly, we are organizing periodic the webinars on the research outcomes. So we are conducting lots of research at the grounds. Also, we are creating such facility for researchers to share your research outcomes. So we are ready to host your programs as well. So in different ways, you can learn, contribute, participate, and jointly develop this as a platform. So I stop here. I will just answer your queries, if any, on how to contribute and participate.
Wow, this is amazing. I am very honored to be having access to this information right now. Thank you so much, Ritu. Thank you so much, Krishna. This is quite exhaustive, and I greatly appreciate this exposure and welcome to all of the development that has been done on the loss and damage thing. But I do have a question, and I don't know if any other person also has a question on the mentors and how the pairing is being done. So are the mentors also assigned to researchers that have filled out the form, or are they only for the 25 researchers that you usually select per cohort?
So, Shalom, one is, we definitely link all the 25 researchers we have selected to mentors, and we completely cover their cost, both the researchers as well as mentors' time. But we also have 7 master mentors, which will always be there. So what you can do once you have created as a mentee, like people who register themselves,
Mm,
and you are stuck, like you are doing a research and you are stuck, you don't know how to do sampling, or you don't
mm,
know how to analyze or apply economic assessment, and or you generally want to some advice on what type of research questions you should be asking. So you send your query to Krishna, because Krishna is the coordinator. You send your queries to Krishna, and no, you can't have a mentor immediately. You have to submit your request, exact request as to what you want, because see, a lot of people do require this support. So once we have your query, we will link you up to the mentor who can provide that support. Because see, we have close to 70 mentors and we have a couple of master mentors. So what are, if you have to be very pointed as to exactly what support you need from the mentor, and we will immediately, so the pairing is done on the basis of the need that is highlighted. So for 3 different needs, we might link you up with 3 different mentors, because one mentor may be expert in statistical tool, one mentor may be expert in economic assessment. So depending on what your query is, we will link you up to the respective mentors. But you have to first create your profile and then raise your query to Krishna, and then he'll be able to do that. And Krishna has put in his email address as well. So good.
mm, mm. Thank you so much. I want to take questions from the audience. Anyone who has a question or who wants to say something directly to Ritu and the team, you can feel free to raise your hand. I initially saw, and I also wanted to draw our attention to the chat box. I'll be dropping a link to a form. We are still doing a lot of research on the ground level, and this is part of the research questions that we were we are currently assessing right now. And if you are interested, like Ritu had mentioned, that this is open to everybody, both organizations and individuals. So if you're interested in collaborating with us to put up a research paper and go through to the publications, please reach out to us at renewat@gmail.com. Let me also put the email. And we have shared this form earlier just to collect more information from the people at the grassroots level. And there was also something, Rita, you mentioned about the people with disabilities. I currently have access to a pool of students that and it's quite interesting to hear their unique challenges whenever climate change is being discussed. So I'm hoping that we can also integrate them during the research to have more robust outcome from that research. Anyone with any question that wants to speak directly? I think we're almost coming to the end of the webinar.
Okay, so I'll very quickly come because I think people, okay, we have one question. Very quickly, Shalom and everyone who's here online is, see, we created this platform in after we had a lot of consultation with IPCC chair and IPCC and other colleagues that this is a real issue. People have ideas, people have papers, people have written, and all papers are not the same. Some people publish working papers, some issue papers, some people just want to write a blog, and that's why we created a lot of these different categories. The idea is to create that platform and then start linking them up with the global audience. So, as Krishna highlighted in his website, in his presentation, that the idea is once we have all these papers coming, it was very recently launched. So, we are trying to highlight. So, please do circulate this information in your own network so
Yes.
that people are aware of it. Idea is to also organize a lot of webinars or workshops where you can come and present your papers there, where all of these international experts would be there. So you have a direct access to many of them. But yeah, let's hear that question.
Okay, please go ahead to ask your question, Mrs. IIED. I don't know if I pronounce it well. You can unmute.
Yeah,
Yes.
thank you so much. I want to thank the organizers of this webinar and also the presenters. It's been something that I've been longing for a long time. I'm not quite a youth, but I'm a teacher. And also I had to do a late PhD. And I've been looking for a different sector of doing something different from the ordinary, from the traditional way I am schooling. But I want to thank God for today that I'm going to have to share knowledge that is outside my environment now. So I appreciate this so much. But I want to ask, I went out, I did a research this year for women, gender, climate and conflict nexus in the interiors. And I got difficulties in interviewing women. The respondents, most of them were difficult, telling me that they have been coming to get information from them, that over time, nothing has been done towards their plight. So what use are we still coming to disturb them getting information? I even have a video where I went to a riverine community recently, and I was in the market near a beach, and in another area, I still have the same reaction because I am currently researching on climate change, and this is my final research. So when I got back, I went to my professor and I asked him, what do you people do as a result of all these researches you people have been doing? He told me, he's a professor of a soil scientist. He's a soil scientist. He told me over years, even sponsored research, when they finish, that it has not been implemented, that even them, they are tired of researching, sending it out, and then either government is not implementing, international agencies that send them to do is not implementing. So I want to know, what use are these researches when they are not implemented?
You know, I can't agree with you more, Anadi. Firstly, thank you so much for joining this webinar. And Shalom, thank you for bringing together everyone on this platform. Age is not a barrier, and I definitely feel that I'm really enthused by your energy to do something about this issue. And what you mentioned about researching on gender and conflict and climate issue is something which is very under-researched. Now, so we would be very keen to have your publication published on the platform. Second point is, you know, Anadi, what your experience is what we want you to write a blog about. We want to highlight this issue. And even if you search about me, none of my paper, not one of my paper, I have published in a peer-reviewed journal, not one, because I don't believe in academic research. Because academic research and a lot of global north researchers, they are very extractive. They go and extract information and they don't give anything back. So we need to change that the way in which academic research and other research is currently being done, which is very extractive. They don't give anything back. We need to make it more action research and with an agenda. Don't do research just for the sake of publishing or just for the sake of doing research. Do research with a view that it is connected to some action on the ground. And that's why we only believe in action research. But it is also important that the experience that you shared about that woman, if you have a video, even better. We can include that video of that woman saying that, but also your voice matters. So if you can write a short 500, 700 word blog saying how people are tired of being researched, how people are tired of their experiences being extracted and nothing being given back to them. If you do this blog, NAD, I can promise you that we will highlight that issue to the top level and make sure that this issue starts getting addressed, that stop doing these academic research which does not lead to anything. So please share your experiences. Krishna has shared his link, has email. If you can write in your own words what your experiences have been and what people and women, especially on the grassroots level, have shared about this, it will be very, very important that we highlight this issue. This has to stop. This extraction of information has to stop with nothing being given back to them.
Okay. Thank you so much. In fact, I have about 2 videos. I'm going to do that. Thank you
We will
so much.
include those videos in the blog, but you write your own experience of talking to these women.
I will. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Madam Anide. I also believe that that issue is something that everyone is quite tired about. It's collective. We're all tired about answering questions for surveys. Sometimes it gets published, other times it does not, and we are yet to hear any feedback as to some of the things that have been recommended. And even for myself, when I went to COP, there were certain interviews that I conducted after the social media presence and all of that. No, we've not seen any of those things. And some of them, when I reach back to them, they are not even willing to respond to me again. So they just wanted us to speak and, just have our videos. That was just all they wanted us to do at that time.
Let me ask you, Charlotte, did you
Yes.
were you at Uwego World Green Economy Platform? Did you present there at
No,
COP29?
no, at COP29, yes, I did numerous presentations, and we can always, I was looking for your email to send you an email after this so that we can connect. I would also love to share my thoughts as well on the blog and any other things that we can put out. I'm definitely interested in working with you, ma.
Okay, okay,
Yes.
I'm sending, because you quite resemble somebody that presented along with me at the COP, and I only saw a skeletal part of it in their YouTube channel. In fact, they just highlighted our names and the topic, and the main
Okay.
presentation is not there. Mm.
Okay. Yes. If you share your email address again, I can copy it
So
because
I'm
it's kind
so
of
thank you
work.
so much for organizing this. I'm very
Thank you, Ma. Thank you so much for joining. It's a real pleasure to even have you here while we specify for you, but thank you so much for joining.
I'm doing that.
Yes. Is there any other person, one last person, and then we call the section to a close? But I wanted to say thank you so much, Ritu. It's such
Thank
a
you.
huge pleasure that you honored our invitation, and not only that, provided active ways that we young people can contribute to the discussion. I am going to work on that on those research, and I'll try to reach out to everyone, and so that we can have the second webinar where we would have the IPCC chair to listen to some of this, the outcome of some of the research that is going to come out from here. I'm definitely going to work on it, and I will reach back to you so that we keep the conversations going. So thank you so much. While I wait for just one more person to ask a question, if we can turn on our cameras, put on our videos just for a brief picture with everyone, and please fill out the form. Your names will be captured in the form, and all your input will be captured with your name. We're not taking advantage of the inputs that are there. Everyone will be highlighted equally, and when we're sending the reports, everyone's name will be included in all the documents that we'll be sending out. So if you're comfortable, please turn on your video camera just for us to take a picture. And if one more person has a question to Ritu, I also heard about the fellowship program. Do you want to say something on that as well? I did tell some of my colleagues to apply for that scientist role.
It's a Limul Haq scholarship. We support 25. It's not limited to experts alone. Organizations can apply for it as well.
Okay.
We provide small scholarship, um, also cover cost of travel to the field to collect data and so on. So this is the third round. We are intending to support another batch.
Okay.
But of course, funding is an issue for all of us. But we'll try. We're still trying to get more funding, and we will issue that, and we'll reach out to this group. Shalom, you made a really great effort. I hope climate mobility platform, like, they continue to link everyone together. Like, there were some good, like, what you need, Shalom, is to, and that's why this observatory is about linking you with experts in other region. So linking with you with experts in Brazil, Peru, or with those in Africa, those in Asia, so that you are all connected with each other. In today's world of internet, why should you not be connected? And, having an online call is an easy thing. So the whole
Yes.
idea about this observatory was only to connect all of you together. We are just the facilitator, we're just a platform creator, but the idea for you is to come together. Our promise is, as we said, that we will publish papers, we will provide editorial support to bring it to the standard, so it is equivalent to any research paper or publication from Global North. And also, at the same time, once we have some critical mass, we will make sure that we bring together the other side, people who sit on the other side of the table, people who are the ones taking decisions on a lot of these issues, to come sit and hear you out. And that is something that we've done in the past, but we'll continue to do that in future as well.
I'll definitely work on this. There's actually something like I will send a message about and detailed description. It's something that will happen in October, and we're also coordinating that as well. So I'll send the concept note once that is ready. It's like a simulation of COP30, what COP is and how young people can directly negotiate and all of that. I will send the detailed concept note once this section is done. Thank you so much, everyone. For those asking for the fellowship, we would send it as a detailed summary once this section is over. So once again, if you can open your camera, just 1 minute and we'll be out of here. Wouldn't take your time any longer. Thank you so much for joining. Thank you so much for joining and staying till the end. Thank you. Thank you. I'll take it on the count of 3, 1, 2, and 3. Yes, I've gotten a lot of pictures. Thank you so much, everyone. And have a great day. Thank you so much, Ritu, for making our time to be here. Thanks so much, Krishna. It's such a pleasure to meet you, and I'll continue to be in touch. Thank you so much for inspiring us once again. Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for joining. We will continue to share more information about our upcoming webinars via email. Look out for this video on YouTube and the detailed summary via email as well. We will send all of the opportunities where you can directly contribute, share your voices, and continue to influence climate action. So do not hesitate to reach out to us. Also, if you have any questions or you want any collaborations, please reach out to us. I'll send our email again in the chat box, but please reach out to us. We'll be delighted to work with you, listen to you, and also work with you. Thank you so much, everyone, and have a pleasant weekend. Thank you, everyone. Have a pleasant weekend. Thank you. Thank you for joining, and see you in our next webinar. Thank you. Thank you so much, and I'll be ending the call now. Thank you for joining. Have a great weekend.